We're back.
In the trap.
This movie came out a while ago, so no one's going to watch this. But we're going to talk about it anyways, because we watched it. And I was excited to watch this.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big fan of medieval times.
I am a big Renaissance fair fan.
Yes.
No, I'm not. AJ is.
Yes, I do remember him saying that when y'all talked about Knight Riders.
Yeah. So, Ian, we are back. We are talking about, of course, The Green Knight, directed by one David Lowery. This was a movie we were both looking forward to.
Yes, but we missed it.
Weren't able to make it to the theaters for
its primary run.
It's out on VOD now. Yes. There's a lot to unpack on this movie.
This movie, my first note that I wrote down was visually sumptuous.
Yeah.
Such a pretentious thing to say. I don't know why I wrote that down.
It's a pretentious movie.
It is. It is. Based on, Middle English work. So.
Which I was not familiar with.
I read it in high school.
Did you?
And I remember liking it quite a bit. Didn't remember much about it, though.
Okay.
So I sat down to this movie fresh. I don't think I even saw a trailer for this.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I did go back and listen to the book.
Oh, you did?
After watching the movie. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's based on that Arthurian legend of the Green Knight. Mm-hmm. Does it hold up compared to the storyline of the book?
It's definitely different.
Is it a poem?
It's more of a poem.
Okay.
It's very, in the style of the time, very alliterative, more so than a rhyming poem like you'd think of. But yeah, it's got all the major elements, but it is definitely a reimagining.
Sure,
it is not attempting to beat for beat hit that. Like I know when you look at written forms of this, a lot of them are translations because obviously to the modern English speaker, the original is nearly unintelligible.
Yeah.
Like you'd recognize 1 out of 5 words, and it's like just enough to make you feel like you should get it, but you just feel stupid for not getting it. So like there's a lot of emphasis on like accurate translation, and this is not attempting to be that. Like this is definitely going in a very different direction. Like there's a whole scene where our main character travels to, and he stays with this lord and his lady.
Yes.
And they have this game they play where I'm going to go hunting today, and you spend time at the castle, and we're going to trade bounties. Whatever I catch hunting, you're going to take it. Whatever you gain throughout the day, you're going to give to me.
Yeah.
That is like 2/3 of the story in the original.
Gotcha.
And like there's 3 separate days. There's 3 separate instances, and the stakes grow each time.
Interesting.
And that is the main thrust of the story. Whereas this is part of it. They don't skip it, but it's definitely there's only one night,
So in some ways they do simplify or movie ties. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but to make it more streamlined experience.
Again, also I think they're reimagining this quite a bit because there's like 5 or 6 other film adaptations of the story, and I kind of want to go back and check them all out. And I imagine they're all much more literal.
Gotcha.
Whereas what I like about this so much is they create such a fantasy world.
Yes.
That isn't very literal to what could have even happened. Obviously, ignoring the fact that this is not literal history, but that like this very much feels like the world that people of the time period that this is set in perceived. They perceived the world this way, and that colors this interpretation. And I think that makes this movie a damn near masterpiece, to be quite honest. I'm going to go ahead and throw out the M word.
Yeah, it almost feels like them retelling these tales to each other in a way where the movie almost falls into like this anthology type thing where it's like these individual story moments, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
During his journey. This is an A24 movie, so I would hope the audience is coming to that expecting an A24 movie, meaning it's probably slower paced, it's probably not mainstream.
A fair number of people came to this too, maybe not necessarily knowing what that is, but being familiar with, English literature, coming at it from that angle.
And if you're from that angle, you probably still would appreciate this.
I think so.
I think if you're looking for a horror fantasy movie, you're going to be probably disappointed, maybe in some ways, because it's slower paced.
It's not that slow paced, I didn't think.
It's not, but there's not a lot of action or anything. It's not scary.
Yeah.
There's not gore, really. There's moments, but...
Yeah, fair.
But from, like, a filmmaking standpoint...
I would say fantasy before horror.
Sure, yeah.
For this, for sure.
And it's an incredible-looking movie. Yeah. Impeccably shot.
They did a really amazing job of making the movie look fantastical.
Yeah.
Like, I would imagine you give most people the license, hey, interpret this, this Middle English literature for the screen. A lot of people are going to make something that looks a lot like Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Which is fine.
Yes.
And I imagine, a lot of the other interpretations of it that do exist, and I haven't seen any of them, I don't think, but they probably look, like your standard night movie.
Yes.
Whereas this felt like something so different. Like, this might as well be a different, dimension compared to what our history probably looks like, you know what I mean? And I think that's so cool about it. And it feels so real. It feels so viscerally real. Like, I was transported by this movie.
Yeah, I think the difference there is, like, Game of Thrones has very little subtlety. It is what it is on its surface. And this movie is brimming with subtlety and themes that I think are all over the place in this thing.
And I think what contributed to the fantasy look of it was just that, like, every inch of every frame feels so intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many frames in this that, like, could be like a splash page in a comic book.
For sure, yeah.
Or something you print out and put on your wall. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, no, they are.
It has such, like, a lived-in vibe, too. Like, I think this does for, like, fantasy horror what, like, Alien did for sci-fi horror, where it's, like, it's not some flashy, fancy, let's go to Elrond's Hall and drink, wine and hang out with the elves. It's it's just so lived in and dirty.
It's
where
gritty.
It needs
it's
to
gritty
be.
in a lot of ways.
But not like, I don't know.
I mean, there was those 80s sword and sorcery movies that were a little bit more grittier at times.
Yeah, but not in this way.
Not in this way, no. And this obviously has the effects that it's able to pull through. Everything's great about this. The performances, it is a whole new world that they bring you into in a way and self-realize. And I love the I don't know, it's like super confident movie where it like it knows the themes and it knows what it's trying to tell, but it's not like holding your hand the whole way through.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might see this and be like, I don't get it, or I don't understand what the point is.
Casting of the lead actor speaks to exactly what you're saying. Because I went into this not knowing anything. Like I said, I didn't even know who was in it. I didn't know who directed it, nothing. And I didn't even recognize till after I was done the movie and I'm looking at IMDb like, that was Dev Patel? I know who Dev Patel is. Jesus Christ, I didn't even recognize him. And yet I have to imagine there's a segment of the internet that's really upset that they cast an Indian man as a lead role in an Arthurian legend.
I don't care.
And it's a dumb thing to be mad about, but like, it was such a perfect casting.
I agree.
And it definitely tells me that they understand that character really well. Whoever did the cast, I don't know if that was the director's choice or a casting director. Really dug a lot about it.
The movie deals a lot with like self-worth.
It's also, I would say more than that even, it's contemplation of honor.
Sure.
Which the original story was too. Now, very different ending than the original story.
Living up to like your families and their expectations and who you are as a person. And what makes somebody great. And there's just so many little moments that kind of build upon these ideas.
And also, like, what does bravery look like?
Yeah.
This is a conversation I've had with my daughter a bunch of times. Because she's definitely been afraid at times of this, that, or the other thing. And I've always told her, like, bravery isn't about going headstrong into something and never being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. And I think that's what this character demonstrated. And so I think what I'm saying is I should probably show The Green Knight to my 9-year-old. But yeah, it's just like he was clearly scared and he's clearly not a perfect man, but he follows through on his promise anyway, despite his fear. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I think that is very true to what the original story was, even if it twists the ending quite a bit. If you happen to come to our video because you're like, oh, I'm really familiar with the story and I'm really interested in literature and, I'm an English literature, doctor, professor thing, and I wonder if I want to check out this movie. I'll check out these idiots. Talk about it on YouTube first. They changed the ending pretty drastically, and it's fucking bleak. And I can't imagine you'd like it, but I thought it was cool.
I don't know if it's that bleak to me, because it's kind of like there's like this whole revisionist history with these legends and stuff like that. And I guess we're spoiling here a bit, but he foresees his life play out in a way where he does that.
If he takes the coward's route.
If he takes the coward's route and lives that legendary hero life in a way where he revises his history and he becomes whatever he is. But that's not the honorable thing to do. That does not make a good man. he goes back, and he wants to die a good man and not just one.
Ooh, that's a much more positive way to interpret that than I took. See, I took it more as if you see how awful the rest of your life's going to be, why not just give up now?
Oh,
when it's
I didn't
clearly
see it like
not what
that.
you want to do.
I think
so. I think
more
what would
about his
truly
character,
what would truly be brave is if you could look forward and see how fucking cool your life was going to be, and then still do the honorable thing. You know what I mean? Because then you sacrifice something. He sacrificed an awful life. You know what I mean? That's relatively easy to do. I mean, it's never just easy to sacrifice your life, so it's a little unfair to say easy, but...
Yeah, but he's always pretending to be something he's not throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
When he takes the sword at the beginning. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think there's tons of ideas going on in this movie.
I guess I'm curious, too, what that is, where he's looking forward. Is that just his own take on what his future could be? Or did he get some kind of... Did he that magic mushrooms he ate? Because I don't remember how long in between when he ate the mushrooms and when this happened.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Or is it something mystical imparted by this ancient place?
Again, the movie is so surreal and dreamlike by that point.
Yeah.
Nothing is literal, or maybe it is, and it doesn't matter. There's so many interesting things to pull out of this movie, and you can just lose yourself in it.
For sure.
I want to watch it again. Like, I watched it, I wanted to watch it again.
Yeah. I actually almost watched it a second time last night. I was going to get my wife to watch it with me, but she was busy. Because I think she'd really be interested in this, because she's very much interested in Shakespeare-type stuff, and this is, in a vein of English literature, anyhow.
It's out.
It is.
If you like these kind
Music is amazing.
Everything is amazing.
It does. And it's probably not a surprise because it's an A24 movie, but I compare it very strongly to things like Hereditary and Midsommar, where there's just like this atonal kind of quality to not just the music, but the visuals too, that just really kind of creates this dissonance that like really makes you unsettled. I almost wonder if that's where you get the horror feeling from, even though like I can't think of anything about this movie that is specifically all that horrific.
I hear you. I was waiting for like a shocking moment that just never came.
Yeah.
I think it was which I'm okay with.
I think it's just the way the movie makes you feel because of how dissonant it is at times.
I agree. Yeah, it's great. I'm sure you probably already have seen it by now, though. And if you haven't, you should.
I don't know. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't want to hear.
Yeah. So, Green Knight, go watch it. And then...
Strong recommend.
Hit the like button.
Two stamps of likes.
Of approval. You are now knighted. Ian, I will knight you.
Like if you like. Subscribe if you're nasty. And if you're really nasty, come join us on Patreon.
Wait, Ian. God damn it, Ian. I have a sword.
God damn, you're going to cut me.
That's the plan. All right.